Hey guys, welcome back to another video. On this channel, you will find loads of paper crafting inspiration, just like what we have today. I'm sharing some projects that I created with our very own dollar download lemon birthday card printable, and that you can find from our shop. I just want to share a couple of projects here, and we're going to do a tutorial for this sweet and simple version of our card. So if that sounds good to you, then stick with me and we'll make it together. So here is our printable. This is the dollar download lemon birthday greeting card. It has such a beautiful, warm, sunny vibe. There's a large pattern for the background, a layering pattern with a nice contrast, so that will be a very nice layering detail. I have an image here for the focal point that is on a tag, so it's easy to cut out and add to the top. A layering element as well as a sentiment for this card. Now, even though this says birthday, I think that you would be able to use this for a variety of different reasons. So it's pretty versatile, and I'm going to make a card today with this as more of a sweet and simple card. And then make sure you watch to the end, because I'm going to show a couple more examples of what I can do with just one printing of this image, and so you'll want to check that out at the end. Another thing I wanted to mention for the card that we're creating today is that I wanted to create a lot of detail without building a lot of dimension. So I'm going to take my larger pattern from that background, and I'm going to cut it so that I can utilize it in different areas. And so I'll just show you how this will work. I cut the strip that will be more or less on the top of this pattern here, and that left me a strip at the top of additional pattern, and I did wind up cutting that down so that I could use it underneath a layer. So this gives me the look of more quantity than is actually here, and I'm just very carefully adding my layers so that I can cover all those cut edges. We're going to be making a standard 5 by 6.5 inch greeting card today, and this is side folding. I'm going to pair that printable with this beautiful warm gold toned cardstock, and I'll use that throughout for a consistent look. And I decided for this particular card that I wanted my borders to be just a little bit wider than I typically do. So I did go ahead and cut an additional layering piece, and this is going to help me to get the placement of those smaller strips. I do want to have a consistent border all the way around, so all I have to do is add that additional piece of white cardstock, and then I can top it with those beautiful offcuts from the printable. And I'm just going to go ahead and line that up, and now you can see that my borders will be absolutely perfect. And I'll add that second piece right to the top. This is going to show underneath the additional layers that we add. So let's go ahead and add that to our card base. I'm just using a double-sided adhesive tape for this, but if you prefer a wet glue, then go ahead and utilize that now. So I just want to center this in the card, and you will notice that I do have a border of the cardstock showing, as well as that larger border of my colorful cardstock. That will become a design detail that you will notice later. So I've got an additional layer that I'm going to include, and to be frugal, I did cut the circle border for the next layer from the center. Don't worry, it's not going to show, but it will help me to stretch my colorful cardstock. So just as the first layer, I'm going to top that with my white cardstock so that I can achieve that border. And then just like in the first layer, I did utilize the image cut in half so that I could separate those and have it fill the amount of space that I want to cover this card. So here is the next layer, and let's go ahead and add that one as well. So I'll just position that in the center And you'll notice this time I'm not using the spacers. Remember, I'm trying to achieve a lot of detail without a lot of bulkiness. So here is the next layer. And as I showed previously, here is that first cut from the larger pattern. And I did use the cardstock on the top and bottom just to keep those paper layers separate. Now you can see that I have cut that to stretch the width of that. So now it looks like we have all of these paper layers underneath, but we stretched out that printable so that it would fill this whole card. Now I'm just going to top that with a pretty die cut doily. This is slightly off center so that more of it will show underneath our additional layering elements. As I mentioned, I have a circular section here, and this one was cut from our layering pattern with a circle die that had a border. And so let's just add that over here to the side. And then we'll top it with our focal image. So here is that beautiful cake with the lemons on the tag. I did add a little bit of stickles to this just to bring out those details. And I'm going to add this a little bit lower. So the bottom of the tag will extend just slightly beyond the section where my cardstock falls. Okay, so now we have all of those beautiful paper layers in our image. I do want to finish this off with just a little bit more detail. You know I'm going to want to put flowers on here, but in keeping with my theme of not adding a lot of bulk, I'm just going to add a couple of these flowers that I created with the Altenew layering floral elements, and I did coordinate these with my paper so I know that they'll match perfectly. And I topped that off with just a small little section here of gold. This gives it a little bit of extra detail. These are very flat, and so I can create my arrangement without adding that bulk. So I just want to place these in temporarily so that I know exactly where I want them to fall. And instead of having two of the leaf die cuts, I decided to have one larger one. This makes more of an impact and it kind of helps to fill in this negative space on the bottom. So what I want to do is just connect these flowers in the shape of the arrangement. And I always want to create my arrangements off project. That way I can get the exact spacing and design that I want before I commit to gluing it down. So this is going to fill that corner nicely. And then I just have this one nice leaf floral, and I'm going to tack that down, I think, with my Tombow, just because I want to secure the end as well. So I'll just dab a little bit of that on. This is not so heavy that you're going to need the hot glue, so I think this will be perfect. And then I'm just going to position that where I wanted here on the bottom and hold that place just for a bit for that glue to set up, but I think we can continue to work along. So let's add our flowers, and this is going to be the final detail for this card. Now, if you wanted, you could add some additional sequins or charms, but I wanted this to be more of a sweet and simple kind of card, one that would fit in a standard size envelope. And I think it's just really sweet. It's very warm and sunny, and I think it's perfect for a birthday or really any occasion. So now that I've got my sweet and simple card made, I did want to share with you a couple of other projects that I created with that printable. Now remember, it is just one printing for each of these projects, and I decided to use the same cardstock color throughout because I think it paired so well. For this one, it's still that standard 5 by 6.5 inches, but I did add additional layering elements like foam spacers just to build up that dimension. For this card, I did include that sentiment banner. I put it on its side just so that I could have room for that lovely cake to show. There's some sequins here as well. couple of butterfly charms, a little bit smaller of a doily here so that I could have more of that lemon background paper showing, and I topped that with a vintage button. So a larger flower arrangement here from our first one, and they are very much more dimensional. I've got additional leaves, some netting here, some loopy twine bows, and some flowers that are arranged with the cardstock color as the accent flower, so I know that it will coordinate. So this is a white lotus flower from Really Reasonable Ribbon. I typically pop the center out and switch it for a stamen that I think will coordinate better. And so these both came from Really Reasonable Ribbon, as well as this beautiful taffeta ribbon in gold. And it's very difficult sometimes to coordinate yellows. You can get ones that are too murky or too bright, but I think gold will typically always pair well with yellow, and so that's the choice I made for that. And then the second example I have is the Slimline Profile. So this is still one printing of that image, and I'm using a larger die cut rather than my layering doily, and so I've cut my cardstock to go all the way to the edges. Typically I would want a border of my card showing, but this is part of the design element of this, is to have that darker border. And so I've got my patterns layered here as well, and I raise that up as well as the focal image, and that's popped up on an additional layer. I topped this with the beautiful chrysanthemums that are also from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and I'm just so happy with how well the center coordinates with that tag. I think that looks really sweet altogether, and of course I did finish it with some of the ribbon trim, the sequins, the button, and the charms. So if you're interested in checking out that printable, I'll leave a link for that in the top of the description so you can find it easily. Our shop has quite a few dollar downloads there, as well as additional tags and other printables you can find. If you look in the description, you will also find links for our social media sites and the products from Really Reasonable Ribbon that I mentioned earlier. So that's it for my tutorial today. I hope that you enjoyed seeing a variety of ways to use that $1 download printable. I think they're very versatile, and so I really enjoy working with them. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave me a comment and let me know what style of card or project you would make with a printable, because I would really love to get your feedback on that. Don't forget to give me a big thumbs up, and if you're not already, I would love for you to join our crafty little family. Just hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you'll be alerted every time we add new content. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.